Good morning, everyone. In this video, I will show you how to create a complete enterprise web infrastructure in Microsoft Azure. I will deploy two Linux web servers for redundancy, a load balancer for traffic distribution, and a firewall for centralized security. Once the configuration is complete, I will launch the website and perform a failover test. My name is Anthony De Los Santos. I am a network engineer with CCNA and CCNP certifications, and I am multi cloud certified in AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. Here is my architecture and design. This setup is engineered to be secure, highly available, and scalable. Let's discuss the purpose of each component. I will deploy an Azure firewall to handle security enforcement and threat protection, while the Azure load balancer will manage high performance, availability, and scalability. In Azure, you could simply launch a similar topology of virtual servers and run a web application for internet user to access it, but that kind of basic setup is not secure. My design makes it easy to expand your cloud environment because the firewall is already in place, ensuring any new servers are protected from the moment they are deployed. Regarding the subnets, I will create a dedicated subnet for each device. Using segregated subnets for the virtual machines, the load balancer, and the firewall is a best practice in Azure design. This enforces network segmentation, enhances security, and improves the overall manageability of the infrastructure. Let's look at the IP addressing. The VM servers and the load balancer will use private IP addresses only. The Azure firewall will sit at the edge with two interfaces, a private interface facing the internal load balancer and a public interface facing the end user. Using private addresses for virtual machines behind an internal load balancer and an edge firewall is the best practice for a secure production grade architecture in Azure. Regarding the traffic flow, when a user accesses the website, they will hit the Azure Firewall's public IP address. The firewall will perform a destination network translation to the Azure Load Balancer, which will then distribute the traffic to the backend web servers. For internet users, I will only allow HTTP and HTTPS, and I will use HTTP, HTTPS, and SSH for managing the VM servers. Here are the steps I will go through. First, I will create a resource group named XYZ-resource-group. I will select the Central India region as it is geographically close to my location in Saudi Arabia. Once the resource group is created, I will move on to the virtual network. Next, I will set up the virtual network. I will choose the XYZ resource group and the Central India region, naming this instance XYZ-virtual-network. In the IP address tab, I need to add the subnets. I will create the Azure Firewall subnet starting at 10.0.1.0/26. For load balancer subnet, I will name it as load balancer subnet 10.0.2.0/26. Then click add. Then I will add the last subnet for server virtual machine subnet. I will name it as VM server subnet. Starting address 10.0.3.0/26, then click add. And next, as you can see, shows validation is passed. Then click create. So now our virtual network subnets are created. So the second steps is done. Now let's create a virtual machine. Click virtual machine. Click create virtual machine. Select the resource group. I will name it as XYZ server 1 primary. I will choose the zone 2. And for administrator account to SSH the server, I will assign my username and password. For the inbound port, I will select HTTP, HTTPS, SSH. Click next, then next again. For the networking, we need to select the correct subnet for VM. I will add public IP. I need this for temporary so that I can verify the web server is running. I need it to allow the Linux server to get update and to install NGA. Click next. Will not change anything on management, monitoring, advanced, and then tags tab, so I will just click next to them. Then click and review, then click create. Deployment is on progress. As you can see here, deployment is complete. Go to the resource first. We need to connect. Click more ways to connect and then we'll choose SSH using Azure CLI. Then click connect. then click Configure and check Access. Type yes on the CLI, type sudo apt-get update, then press enter. Next, we will install the engine X by using sudo apt-get install-y engine X. Then we need to paste this HTML code of a simple one-page website with a blinking text in the middle saying XYZ server 1 primary. So I will copy this, I will paste it on the CLI, then enter. So now we're done. Let's try to test the web page if we are able to access. We'll use the public IP of the VM and paste it on the web browser. Hopefully it'll work. You can see the web server is running and it is reachable from the internet. Let's create the secondary server. Create a new virtual machine. Click, select the resource group. I will name it XYZ Server 2 Secondary. For the zone, I will choose Zone 3 rather than Zone 2 so that in case something happens in Zone 2, our VM server will not fail both of them at the same time, making it more resilient. I pause this video and I will finish the server 2 configuration since it is the same step as in server 1 so that we will save time. Now let's test. I will copy the public IP of the server 2, then paste on the web browser, and you see, the server 2 is reachable and working. I need to delete the public IPs of the VM servers since we don't need them anymore. So to the disassociate, we need to go to the server and click on networking, then network settings, click on network interface, then click on public IP address and click disassociate. Let's go to the second server, click on networking, then network settings, click on network interface, then click on public IP address and click disassociate. Then go back to public IP list and select the public IP and click delete and type delete and delete. This will avoid us to get charged in our billing. Now, let's create a standard load balancer with private IP address. Select the resource group. I will name it XYZ Standard Load Balancer. Select Internal, then click Next. Let's add front-end IP configuration. Select the subnet for load balancer. I will name it as XYZLB Front-end IP. Then click Save. Let's create a backend pool. Click Add Backend Pool. Select IP address. Then write the server 1 and server 2 IP address. Then I will name it as XYZ backend server pool. Click save. For inbound rules, let's click add a load balancing rule. I will name it as XYZ load balance rules. Choose the front-end IP and backend pool that we created before. Then for the port, write port 80 and for backend port. Let's use port 80 as well, then click Create for health probe. I will name it as XYZ-HTTP health probe. Protocol is TCP, port is 80, then click save. And click save again, then click next and click create. And we're done in deploying load balancer. Now, let's deploy a firewall. First, we need to create firewall policy. Click create, select resource group, and I will name the policy as XYZ firewall policy. For policy tier, we will select standard, then click review and create. Next, let's deploy firewall, search firewall, and click create, select the resource group, and I will name it as XYZ Firewall. For Firewall SKU, I will use standard, then select the firewall policy we created before. For virtual network, I will select existing. I will uncheck the enable firewall management. I will add public IP and the name is XYZ firewall public IP. Then click OK and click next. Then click review and create, then click create. Deployment is complete. Let's go to the resource. Now, let's create a destination network translation or DNAT configuration. From firewall policy, click select on XYZ firewall policy, then click on rules. Then add a rule collection. Let's name it as XYZ inbound web traffic destination NAT. In rule collection, click D, NAT. And for priority, write 100 on the rules. For name, I will put allow HTTP to LB source. Type is IP address. And source is asterisk. Protocol is TCP. Destination ports is 80. Destination address will be our firewall public IP. For translated type, I will select IP address, and for translated address is our load balancer IP. And for translate port is 80, then click add. I already finished deploying the VM. The web server is running, the load balancer is already configured properly, the firewall are properly configured, okay? Let's do a test now the website. Now copy the public IP of the firewall so that we can test the website if reachable using firewall and load balancer. And as you can see, the web server 1 is reachable using firewall public IP. Now, it is time to test the web server 2. In the virtual server settings, I will stop the primary server so that I can force that the traffic will go to secondary server. Now let's try the second server. As you can see, the website is reachable as well using secondary server. This means the load balancer configuration and the firewall are functioning correctly. I conclude that this project demo is successful. Thank you so much and have a great day.